down here. Cyclops got a message for you.
Tell your boss he can stick it.
That's for last week!
Malaka!
Hello everyone, I'm Eric, the LonePineWolfman, and I'm here with an AC Odyssey history vid. Honestly, I played a bit of it before I got swept up in Red Dead Redemption 2, but I managed to play enough to get a few videos out of it, and I'll start playing it again obviously, but this video is going to be about your ship. Your ship looks like a bireme. A bireme is an ancient Greek warship, but generally used by other cultures as well, that has 2 rows of oars. A trireme has 3 rows of oars, and you get the point. Sadly, there is no octoreme, although that would have been fun. There is a sail on it, but you can't go sailing around like you did in Black Flag. The Aegean Sea is treacherous and rocky in places, and the waters were very rough. Since there was no need for open sailing, and the Greeks didn't have engines to power their ships, oars helped out the speed and maneuvering of the ships in these particular waters. Now, we assume it's your crew members doing the rowing, but for much of the ancient world, it was slaves and prisoners doing most of the rowing, right? Well, if you've seen the famous 1959 version of Ben-Hur with Charlton Heston, yes, that one and not the terrible reboot, you got that impression. The Greeks and Romans did use slaves a few times, when regular pools of manpower did dry up, but you usually didn't want people who generally hated you to be in control of the ship. In ancient Greece, rowers were soldiers just like all the rest, but a place of honor was held for them in Athens. Athens was a big city-state, but not everyone owned land to have a farm or such. So many of the male citizens signed on to the navy, and received honors as protectors of the city. Athens had a huge navy, over 200 ships. That's huge considering that most of the other city-states couldn't even field half that number in ships. And if you notice in the game, there aren't many Spartan ships around, or at least there shouldn't be, because Sparta practically didn't have a navy. They didn't want to interact with the outside world so much. The outside world had dangerous ideas like democracy and other things. And with a worker and slave population fulfilling their wishes with their own resources, they had little need for one.
Come on! We need those positions!
Spears now!
Biremes could have up to 120 rowers, plus marines, who boarded the enemy ships to fight. Triremes could have 170 rowers. Naval combat was intense. Arrows and fire were just appetizers, but ramming was the main course. But we liked to board because hey, it's fun and it was one of the most rewarding parts of gameplay in Black Flag. So why not here? And I'm glad they brought back the process of the enemy ships being gentlemen about you boarding and wait for you to finish looting their mates before resuming battle with you. You are a class act, guys.
Now to Hades with you.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey can show your men flying off the ship, the sharks circling, the fire, and the chaos of all of it, which is pretty good. Many crew members died from drowning when in a fight, and if you didn't, you're usually captured by the enemy if you lost. You see, unlike land battles, it was very difficult to retreat in a naval fight, so battles at sea often cost a lot of casualties. But if you control the sea, you control the trade, money, and usually the power too. A huge invading force can invade you if they can't get past your ships. So having a good navy was essential, or having a friend with a big navy was also nice as well. That's why many Greek city-states didn't want to mess with Athens. The Spartans did, but they rarely engaged them at sea, until, Persia funded their navy later on. One major drawback of the warships was that since they were generally packed with soldiers and sailors, they didn't have much room for other supplies. Being lightweight and fast was key in battle, and loading extra supplies on didn't help, so oftentimes they only took about a day's rations for themselves on the ship, which meant they had to stay close to shore with the army or near a dock where there was food for them. So when they needed to eat, they just docked and camped out for a bit. There was always a major risk, however, of you being attacked while doing this. The Battle of Marathon, where the Athenians and other Greeks surprised the Persians, was basically this kind of attack on a large scale. But ships were the main way for trade and travel. The benefits outweighed the risks. They were state-of-the-art ships in their time and would last for several centuries before new types of ships began to dominate the waters. For me personally, I would have liked to see more detail in crew engagement, perhaps having a system of high and low morale, letting your lieutenants agree or disagree with your character, perhaps even letting them desert or becoming an arch-enemy if you encounter them again. I mean, the game took a lot from the Shadow of War series, so you might as well just finish the Nemesis system they were partially going for, rather than believing that every person you choke out and kidnap onto your ship magically likes you and is willing to die for you now. But that's just me. Well, I hope you learned something today. I'm Eric, the Lone Pine Wolfman, and remember gamers, never stop learning.